Are you enjoying your alone time and all that fun stuff?
Uh, it's crazy. I've had some amazing conversations.
Mhm.
It's been an amazing I want to say 36 weeks,
Okay.
and everything. I can't appraise anything based on what I know through yesterday, because today it's just I feel a tremendous amount of gratitude, alignment. Yes, I'm feeling things. Yes, I've been purging. I threw up twice.
Oh, wow.
Morgan's on the other side of the world. We have a physical encounter that's unexplainable. We're closer. There's a new math. There's a new way of
Mhm.
life. I mean, and it's crazy because the deeper you go into the human aspect, as you would in your relationship with any other aspect of yourself, the ones that we've come across. I mean, I think of this what apparently is an original monad of 12, and we
Mhm.
spoke to a being a couple of years ago that was her and I in that body.
Right.
So you run across these aspects, and you're in such reverence,
Yeah.
and I think and it's such a laugh too, because it's like it's right in front of your face the whole time. But
Mhm.
as we take the human aspect, as you refer to it, and all that it contains in its own multidimensionality, and we take that into the same field of awareness, gratitude, reverence, love, and so on, that we do these other aspects. I think this thing's about to go way past quantum. It's going to be to the zillionth exponent.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Uh, there is no barriers that are placed at this point in time with anything that's going on. So it is fully open, but we're the only ones that can actually decide how far open we're going to go, how deep we're going to go, how much we're going to bring in. There's so much that you know we have available, and like you said, it goes even beyond the quantum part because we're much more involved in the field where we used to be more isolated, but now we're more involved in the field around us,
Mm.
and it doesn't even stop here because it's not just the human, what you can call the human experience alone. What we're doing in the human experience is creating structures all around us in other playgrounds and other what do you call it, other playmates of ourselves in the multiple realms that exist and so forth. So um, yeah, it's amazing because there's so much been opened up for us to be able to access it, and we're the only ones that hold ourselves back in any
Yeah,
way, shape, or form at this
and
point.
it's funny because too, this is kind of how I saw it or experienced it. So we're having these conversations. We've known each other a couple of years. I mean, the show, the communities. You've been doing this for years, and we're going, wow, something's going to happen. And then we moved into, wow, it's happening. And then we got, like, let's say it's the length of a football field, and we got about 30 yards into this sprint,
Yeah.
and and we haven't for 30 yards realized that at the same time everything is transforming around us, we are.
Hmm.
And we have these skills and abilities that we haven't really tapped into because we've been caught up in looking at the forest. You know
Well,
what I mean?
and actually, it's not even just looking at the forest, getting lost in the forest, and
Mm.
being overwhelmed by the forest and so forth, and thinking that the forest is bigger than us and it's outside of us and it actually has power over us.
Mm.
That's the thing.
Right
That's
on.
that's where
Mm.
the difference is.
Yeah. How's it been for you? You mentioned a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm just checking if every okay. It looks like we're up. I, I I was sharing all the pages while you were talking too at the
Mm.
same time. So now I don't need my glasses again. Now I can
Mm.
don't have to see the fine print.
I
Yeah, it's
like.
been quite a roller coaster for many people,
Mm.
but it's also because of the work I do personally myself. There's several things going on. Well, we have our environment around us, and of course, we're looking at the movie. You get to a point where the movie is just playing in the background and you're not really paying attention. And once in a while, you just catch a little glimpse of it, right? And you see where it's going. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Then the other part of the movie is your own personal reality, and you're playing with your own reality and you're experiencing, connecting with people and whatever else is going on. And we end up paying more attention to say, okay, what is my focus? What is my construct of my reality to make sure that I'm always keeping it moving and expanding the way I feel within myself to do so. While that's happening, though, it is bringing up stuff in the sense of old programs and things of that nature. And I know we've talked about this, and I've talked about it a lot before, that, you know, as the energies increase and so forth, continue to elevate and go up further, that we actually go into the deeper archives where there's some really deep rooted stuff that may have been through certain aspects of your life. I didn't have anything from past lives show up for quite some time now. It's been a few years. But what I've noticed is some of this life from birth till now that has been coming up. And so that's been interesting, because my latest has been my relationship with my parents. Now, they've been long gone, you know, they're no longer on the planet and so forth. But, you know, I came in from a European, you know, in the 1920s, 30s type of parents that were born in those days, right? And they had their upbringing. Of course, they came here in the early 50s. And they kind of locked in that mentality of whatever they took from Europe to here. And they really never progressed, besides, you know, plugging in some parts of what we call the Canadian experience was, not very deeply. So they played the game and the role, whatever they played, right? Of course, I show up and I'm kind of really
different.
Yeah, shocking to them. But it wasn't only shocking to them, it was shocking to me too, because I didn't realize that, well, not that I didn't realize it, I noticed that it was going to be a bit of an interesting dance, but it actually increased even further because of the, not so much the clash, it's like, you're being a free spirit and they're saying, no, you got to follow these protocols, rules, and so forth. This is the way it is and whatever else. So I shook up things. And plus, you know, I was really open in sharing what I saw, what I was, you know, receiving and whatever else. They didn't take that very well because it was outside of their parameter. It's like, we don't go there, right?
Just your normal kid. Just your normal kid in suburban Canada.
Yeah. So anyways, I didn't realize it created somewhat of a separation between us. And what I meant by separation is, like, I categorized them as them playing that game, and I was going to play my game. And it's almost like a wall was built with just a bit going in. And at the same time, I don't know if I really felt the dynamics of the connection that I really could have done, you know, at that point in time. And it showed up. It showed up that I actually never opened myself to them because I was shielding myself from them, because in a way, what they would do is they were trying to put me in a box, and it was just like, I wouldn't say ignore them, but at the same time, I would kind of filter it. And it's just like, okay, they don't understand, right? What I missed, a part of what I missed, and I did catch it on later on, but I ended up missing, is what I always talk about, you know, that we get into these relationships and coming through certain channels and so forth to stage ourselves to, you know, not only gain experience, but to really open yourself up. And I really never got to the appreciation level to the degree I felt. So now, just recently, meaning overnight to this morning, I actually, that showed up. It showed up that I've really never embraced them. So I envision embracing them and thanking them and loving them at a whole nother level.
Yeah.
The difference here, Todd, is when I did that, this is the first time with them, because I've always felt a love for them because, they were who they were. And even though that we're on completely different pages at the time, I felt the heart opening up, and it was like it was gushing love to the point of seeing them as like what they are, another aspect of me, but the role that they were playing was difficult for them. But they were open to it. And it wasn't just for me. It was like what they were brought up to. And they were also wanting to break out, but their programs and so forth was deep. But with that, I also realized the gift I got from observing them and having the polarity, because there was a polarity. There was a free and locked up version. And I don't know if I talked about it last time, but I did create another version of myself. I don't know if we talked about that or not, but this was a discovery from before. This was a discovery of a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if after we talked about.
Yeah, no, wait. So this happened a couple of weeks ago. This other part where you.
The second part, yes, the part I just finished describing just happened overnight this morning, right?
Wow.
And so when I did that, it actually opened up those barriers that were put in, all dissolved.
Yeah.
The other part is that I recognized a couple of weeks ago. It could have been just before we had the last show or after the last show. I don't recall, because I don't remember talking to you about it. But we had a friend over, and they kind of mentioned something. And what was interesting about the whole thing is that the person that mentioned it, let's stay on track. So she said, "Hey, did you ever do you feel like you have two versions of you?" Right? And I go, okay. I know there's two versions of me to some degree, because there's a kind of what I call an alien aspect and then the human aspect. But it never left me, Todd. It stayed in my consciousness the rest of the day, into the evening, all night. And then in the morning, I'm going, all right, I think I see this person. I see that other version. And so excuse me, I dived in to take a look at this version. And what I realized is that I created a version of myself that was a buffer between who I am as Franco that you see, and the version that my parents were. I created one in between. And that one there danced between the two. Okay? That part that danced in between the two was the buffer, because it kind of followed a little bit of the rules, but it didn't feel caught up in the rules. So I created an alternate version of myself. And that version of myself evolved along the way. And when I mean evolved, it kept upgrading. So the game got a little bit more elaborate, but it wasn't only used for my family or like my parents. It got end up being used through school, because again, in school, it was really hard for me to relate with other kids and whatever else. And most of my connection was the rejects, what people called the rejects. So if there were kids that, were kind of shunned because they weren't the cool kids, that's the kids I had friends with, because I felt that, they needed some support or a friendship there, because the cool kids and all the other ones were making fun of them. So I always followed those people or those kids. But to be able to communicate with them, I kept reinforcing and upgrading. So this went through school, then it went into my daily, the relationship world of the original marriage, the first marriage, I mean. And then, of course, the work world, because I was doing mechanical engineering work for 23 years. So that version was the one that everybody mostly saw. And the other part was the only time that came out was when I was doing this type of work which, you know, has
This
been
is
good for those
huge.
6 years, right?
This is huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And I never realized all of that. You know, I kind of knew, but, you know, I didn't realize that this existed and it was still very active. Then the realization is that's the one that can get sick. That's the one that can get afraid. That's the one that has most of the programs in, right? So now it's like, okay, do I still really need this, or can I dissolve it and blend it into and not have that other version of myself? So I started that process. It's not 100% yet, but that version is not up in the forefront anymore as it was before, because that one was the one that actually was the buffer. Because if anybody, you know, it was hard for you to be expressing fully and at the same time be understood. And I don't mean by understanding because I needed to be understood. It was understood the fact of how can I communicate and not ruffle people's feathers. And when I say feathers, because you're too weird or whatever it is, right? So that's the role that came in. One last little piece to that. So 2 weeks later, which just happened recently, the friend came over again. I mean, it's our friend, and she comes and plays around with Kimberly, and they do artwork and all the other stuff. So when she came over, I thanked her. I said, "Thank you for mentioning that last time." She did not remember. She says, "Did I say that?" She didn't recall, because it was my soul, like
Right.
all of us, that asked her soul to be able to say it, but she had no recall that she actually said that. But it was exactly what I needed to hear, so I could actually look for it and find that part, so that
That's and to think, because we know Franco, and to be, you know, at this point, and to not only to discover this buffer, but to discover that it was actually a big part of the program. These are the kind of unconscious gifts that we're getting now, right?
yeah,
That could have been a prolonged horrible experience 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, the energy is supporting us, I guess is what I'm saying.
Exactly. And we're uncovering all of these things because of the energies going in, because of the upgrades that we're having and so forth. So yeah, we're digging out all of the stuff that was going on. And, you know, I know I have been talking about, you know, the fact that, you know, if you want to clear a program or any version of yourself or anything of that nature, first of all, you have to acknowledge it. Okay. So after you've acknowledged it, you appreciate it, you thank it. I mean, you have to be genuine. And then you go into a state of love. Okay. You go into a state of love. It's not a projected love. I love you. Because in most cases, when you're saying that, you're not really loving it, because you're not opening your heart to it. You're just doing lip service of sorts or something of that nature so that you can get an outcome. It's not about an outcome. You really, truly have to love your experience. And this is something I experienced myself over the years, and I use that tool all the time, and I've shared that tool so many times. So the moment you go in a massive gratitude and love for whatever happened in your life, it doesn't matter what it is, whoever played whatever role or whatever it is, it does not have the capacities to influence you in a polarized state anymore. It dissolves, because what happens is you just see the gem, all the mud and the muck and everything else washes off. It disappears because you're now genuinely expressing and feeling and connecting with that love. So I know lots of us, when we're going through our journey of our life, we're looking at our life and we have judgment about ourselves. We have judgment about others. We see things as good, bad, right, wrong, and so forth. And those are, you know, a great experience at one point in time, but it gets very sticky. And, you know, I'm sure you've gone through it. All of us are going through it. We're going through a purging process, right? But, you know, with me, it's like, okay, I understand the purging. How can we do this most effective? And it's not just to get effective of it, it's how to utilize it. Because when you love it, you see that it's your own creation. It doesn't matter who's involved or whatever it is, and the creation was perfect. But when you love it, you actually get everything out of it, so it no longer has to stick around. That version of you, those programs, those stories, those labels, those definitions no longer are required because they served. It's done, right? That's truly when you get to the done point, rather than I can't stand this and I want to get rid of it. So
it's a graduation.
Yes.
It's a graduation.
Absolutely.
Man, that's a powerful story. That really is, because it just happened, and to have it articulated that way was perfect, because you can feel it. I mean, and the way you looked at it and the way you told the story, you weren't like, really overly attached to it. You were fascinated with it and in reverence of it. But that part of you is being put to bed now.
Yes, because it's not needed. Like I say to a lot of people all the time, you got to be your true authentic self. Okay, and all of us have made a version of ourselves. Okay, now a lot of times the version is overlaid, and then I'm sure you understand, Todd, that we don't only make one. Okay. We make multiple versions of ourselves. One version is with your family. One version is with your friends. One version is with your partner. Another version that is in your work world. And then the one version that goes online, sort of thing, right? So the request now from within ourselves is to dissolve all those versions and just be that beautiful, true essence that you are. So wherever you show up, whatever interaction you're doing, there's only the one version. And that is the version that is not stagnant. That version is always evolving, as we are all evolving. We're expanding and growing and so forth. So you're not saying, well, I'm going to hook up with my partner and I'm going to be this way. I'm going to hook up with some friends. I'm going to be this way, whatever. It's not really so much transparency, because sometimes people call it transparency. It's just being that authentic self, just really coming out. So you no longer have to put anything else. And there's nothing to hide in it too, because first of all, we're never flawed. We definitely have taken on and created certain experiences.
Yeah, that's our human multidimensionality you just described that we're getting rid of.
Because look at it this way. When you step back, and I'm sure you've had the experience, a lot of people, when you step back and you're seeing it through the eyes of your true essence, you know what you see in what people call the shit show that's going on right now? Which has been going around for a long time.
I see the human as the hero.
Yes, but when you step back and look at it, it's a game. It's a beautiful game, and you don't want to miss any part of it. And the thing is, when you're stepping into it, you're going into the glory and the expansion and the beauty of the human. Yes, the human is the hero. The human is really the part that we came here to experience. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw the last episode, but I was showing an iceberg. Okay. So we have the water level. So you know how the iceberg, you only see the tip of it at the top, right? And then you see the largest part is all at the bottom. So this is the thing. Our human experience that we have related ourselves to is just the tip, but it's not even that.
I know. I know. I get what you're saying.
Little piece of that at the top. And the other part is all the versions of yourself. So that's dissolving. So now you're seeing more of the tip, but we haven't even started going into the bigger bulk. And that means the truer essence of yours, the sourceness in a human body. None of that layers to demise or reduce the human experience. It's to expand it to its true glory, true state, true nature.
Yeah. Yeah. This is because I get what you're saying, mostly through energy, but I get this. And so, because part of what I'm seeing is some type of relationship between, us shedding things and this multidimensionality. So like the multidimensionality is peeking in. Like if we're in another dimension, we have access, we have bird's eye access to any of the dimensions, or, that's how it works. Here we don't, but I think it's coming in. We've got all these layers, these masks or whatever you call them, these personalities or whatever. And they do seem to be flinging off of us pretty quick. It's not exactly a smooth ride. It's kind of bumpy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you said something very, very poignant about the multidimensionality, because what we are doing now, as we're coming more and more in line, and these energetic fields are assisting us, we're using the dream state, we're using all types of states to access. But the thing is, our focal point is on this reality, and the reason that we're focusing on this reality, because this is where we have chosen to put our attention in, because it serves us the best, and this is the one that we are kind of building together. But we have created there are multiple parallel versions of ourselves with different choice points and experiences that are available. So we hop in and out of different ones, not just one type, but different ones, and they take a little sampling of possibilities and so forth, and figure out, from an unconscious state, more of a superconscious state, how can we apply any of this into this particular reality? Now, the thing is, a lot of the sampling we do, or visitations that we do, and we drop into those versions of ourselves, one of the multi-dimensional versions of ourselves and parallel versions of ourselves, we take it back, and at times we don't launch it right away. We're kind of constructing, getting different pieces, but what that does is prepares us to actually kind of stage moving forward,
like simulations.
Yes. So there is the simulation, but also at the same time, how do we plug it into this particular reality at this point? And all of these waves and energies that are coming in, I mean, there's so much of it, day after day, and sometimes they even overlap on the same days.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
it's assisting us in very powerful ways to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying too, and I like see the other aspects of myself that I can feel or I've experienced. They're basically between that super consciousness and me, and they're trying to vibrate, for lack of a better word, like vibrate a message to me. Like I can see that connection. I didn't expect that. That was a very powerful story. I mean, do you feel like that was a powerful experience for you, or was that just another day with Franco?
No. That was, like, I have a lot of different powerful experiences, but the thing is, what made it extra powerful was a realization and uncovering that part. Yeah. Okay. And I get excited when I see those things coming up, because it's like, oh, great, I got to see another part that needs my attention and needs to be addressed or do whatever, because I'm all in for allowing my vibration to increase, to be even more effective in assisting others, to become more skill set in a sense of tapping realities that, because again, I'm in a human body too, regardless of how it's made up and whatever else. And I've had a human journey, and I'm not discounting it in any way. I'm, at one point I did. It was like, okay, I just came here to do the job, and I have to be in the human body.
Like, we used to go to work and you'd do the time stamp and checking in and checking in.
Exactly. And because there was stages in my life where I spent more time on the back end than I ever did in the front end. The front end was, like you said, you punch your clock, the time card, you go in and you put your time for the few hours of the day, and then you go back out and you go to your real life.
The blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes. Exactly. And that's how it was. But then, I came to the realization, and Kimberly was pretty good, because she kept saying, you have to embrace this human experience of yours, because you seem to split yourself up all the time. Right?
I heard the same thing.
You're in this job and then you're in that job, right?
Yeah, I
So
found out you could not find your soul till you found your human. Thank
that's,
you, Morgan Lee. So I went through the same thing there.
so
That's
anyways,
funny.
I ended up embracing and what do you call it? Get I had the word at the tip of my tongue, but I can't. But
It's all
anyways,
good.
merging and appreciation of the embodiment. That's the word I was thinking. The embodiment of the spirit self with the physical human self. So the alien self with also that, So
Yeah, yeah.
it became a dance, because I know it has to be a teamwork, and you can't keep it to be effective and to be able to engage 100%, because if you're going to experience love, it's great to come from any version of yourself or anything like that, but to come through the human, it's most relatable with another human. And
Mm-hmm.
then it also confirms with another human that love, that level of love, is possible in a human body. It's not like you have to wait to leave the body to achieve that love.
Mm-hmm.
It's available here. And when you see everything from the dimension of that level of what I call love, and we're talking about true love, pure love, source love, okay? And the source is not outside of us. We are it.
Mm.
We're not talking about, because there's conditional love, there's
Mm-hmm.
unconditional love, then there's true love.
Mm-hmm.
So the unconditional is say, okay, well, that's unconditional because I love you no matter what. But when you get to the true love, there's no space for anything else. Even someone playing the darkest role, the most whatever insanity there is, you have such a profound love for that, whatever it is, it actually transforms all of it, and it upgrades you at the same time. You're not going to go into and play there, because you don't have to go there, and you're not even choosing to do so. But the moment you love it for what it is, another aspect of yourself, it transforms this. And this is how we are creating a lot of change, because we're learning how to access that love, even though we have always known it, but we've kind of, it's like there's a belief system that if you love something, it's going to leave you, or if you
Right.
love something, it can open you up to something of pain or whatever, right?
The programming of human love.
Yes, exactly. So how many times we get into a relationship, and we're so afraid to love them too much, because if they leave or something goes
Right.
wrong, it's going to
It's the
hurt.
wall. It's the
Yeah,
wall game. It's the
believe
wall
it or
game.
not, exactly. Believe it or not, 80% of the 80% of the people in romantic relationships are not allowing themselves not only to be themselves, but to allow that love to be in its genuine form. Because when you're in true love, there is no fear of
That's right.
it comes or goes, because it's fluid. It
It's
loves if it
free.
leaves, it loves if it's there, it's whatever.
Mm.
So when you're feeling that true love, it doesn't matter that Morgan is thousands of kilometers
Mm.
away, or miles, whatever you want to call them in the American version, and being in a hotel or whatever it is. There is no space, there is no distance, because of that connection. But that love doesn't matter. And yeah, okay, the emotional part, the programming part may feel loss, or feel separation, or something of that nature. But in your true state, there is no separation, even if
No,
it
it is
seems.
not, and it's not like it used to. You have these flashing thoughts, and again, this is like even your story today. This is at the core, at the one place that we all meet. These are energetic experiences happening in the now. This is the code.
Mhm.
And the only way to do it, and I love what you said about when you said the human to the human. That's the most impactful point, right? The
Yeah.
central point. And it's the same thing. Like, I mean, it's crazy. We spend our time in the woo woo, yet here we are having to learn to talk to each other. And that doesn't mean like you be real and like I am. It just means like what you discovered today, which is profound. To look at the gift of this memory, and we can all relate to the parent thing. I mean, when you were telling the story, I was pulling up my mother and my father, trying to figure out if I was at the frequency of what I was hearing. So it was thought provoking. But you looked at it, you're actually still in it, like you said. You
Yes,
still haven't got,
yes.
and to be able to to do that and be, let's just say, balanced, I think this is another characteristic of what I'm seeing happening with people, myself, and that is being able to kind of walk and chew gum at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're getting the download, you're going through the process, yet you're functioning at a higher level in a different way.
Yes, yes. And the thing is too, and it doesn't stop like with me. I also noticed it wasn't just my parents. It was with my past relationships. It was with my siblings also. I mean, my two brothers are very different to myself, and we don't have a close connection in the sense of, you know, we communicate a lot. I communicate. One brother I rarely ever communicate. It's probably a couple of times a year. The other one, you know, once a month or once every 2 months or so, we have just a telephone conversation. But the two of them, they talk almost on a regular basis, many times, sometimes many times a week, sometimes even more than one time a day. But because we're not on the same page, whatever it is, I kind of created a distance. I wasn't pushing them, but I never felt drawn to them. So I brought them in also this morning because I felt that I didn't open myself fully. And I appreciated them wherever they're at in their life and journey and all the interactions we had, because growing up and at different stages in our lives, we didn't see eye to eye. And at times, because of that, we kind of distanced ourselves in a way. But what I saw, envisioned myself, was to embrace them and thank them and love them. And this was in my mind. And I just felt that true love. And all of a sudden I could see them for whoever they were or whoever they are in the true beauty, because they have a version of themselves. They have a facade like we all do, in a sense of, but then there's the true self. So I connected with their true self, their true essence of themselves.
And I think this is another important thing too, because I know, even going back to my early 20s, pulling my parents up, you know, and going through and leveling. But like this is a huge level up of what you're talking about, and it's kind of coming in with grace. Right? I mean, it's not like volatile.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And so the thing is, a lot of people have a difficult time because of their journey that they've had from their birth till now, you know, and the journey may have been bumpy, may have been very colorful, may have been dramatic, traumatic, could have been all types of different things along the way. And then, of course, we have certain judgments about ourselves and whatever else. I mean, we've all gained certain things, and some of the judgments have been reinforced because we heard other people confirm it. So, you know, you feel that you're not that good or that you've screwed up, and somebody reminds you, even maybe they don't say it directly, but they say it in a certain way. And it's like, oh, okay, you know, I wasn't this or that, whatever that may be. But what I wanted to say is that when you actually look at any part of your life, because times what happens is we're afraid to see certain stages in our life. It's almost like, I want to forget about that time of my life, you know, or many times in our lives, right? Because we felt that it was too painful. Okay? Well, those are great, because if you bring them in and you go see it through the eyes of love, through the eyes of your true essence, it will not only, when you first look at it, it will not hit you as a massive charge, but you'll also see it restructure and dissolve all of the mucky stuff or what you know put into it, and it looks totally different. And then you really now could appreciate it, and you can really experience the joy of that ride, whatever it may have been at that point in time. And the moment you do that, you feel even freer, so you can fly more. And when I say fly, meaning feeling lighter, be able to look at our world currently and not have the same heaviness of it. You can actually just allow it to dance with it, but flow at the same time. It's not going to be so um, hard of sort that it hits you in a certain way. So those are the things. It makes it so much easier to be able to look at our life. And the more we look at it from that view, it really changes the way we see it now. And our choices moving forward and so forth really expands in a powerful way for us. So this is what we're all doing. We're all doing this to some degree or another.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Talking to people on the show and just people, kind of like the energy today. I mean, like people talking about what's happening, what they're going through. And, a lot of them high frequency people like yourself, saying some pretty eye-opening things. But the other thing I noticed too is that there is this this balance that the message is being delivered. I mean, and you can kind of feel the energy, at least maybe at its core, threading some balance and some stability and foundation, and that must be all the different souls around the earth that are, and maybe they're all doing it.
Well, everybody's doing it, exactly. And okay. The other thing I could add is, with all these energies that are coming in, sometimes some mucky stuff comes to the surface, okay? Stuff that makes us feel bad, doesn't make us feel good, makes us feel a little bit insane or whatever it is, right? One of the things, even if you have to write it on a big piece of paper and have it around you wherever you see it, and you can pull it out or have it in a place where you're spend a lot of time in. And if you remind yourself, I'm here to play, and this is a game, and I'm going to have the most amount of fun possible. Okay, so even when the shit comes up of sorts, I'm using that language at the moment just so
that's fine. This is Soulogy. That's okay.
When that shit comes up and I go, oh, another opportunity to play, another opportunity to look at something else, rather than going, oh my God, another thing, and feeling bad about it. But if you remind yourself, oh, it's another opportunity to play, another beautiful unfoldment. Great, let's go play with it, right? You can use whatever words resonates with you, but at the same time, and the thing is, you can even go like this. Oh, wow, amazing, great. Let's see, let's dive into it. Let's go into, it's like you can envision yourself diving into a pool of sorts, right? And it can be, murky at the top and just see what.
Jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, let's go.
I like the jumping off the cliff.
Exactly. So, yeah, the only reason I'm saying is because there's so much going on at the moment, and it's easy to get caught up in the drift and whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm listening to you, and I'm like going, because I mean, it's a constant exchange, and I'm going, wow. Here's another thing I just figured out. I'm not really looking out there. I mean, I'm aware of it. But it without me even trying to block the external, the global stage, whatever you want to talk about, it's just kind of going away. It's just like it's like a movie, I just see like a big drive-in theater screen way back down on the horizon, on the other side of the prairie. You know what I mean? I mean, it seems like that and not just with me, but the personal journey is superseding everything. Like, I guess that maybe that's being present, being in the moment, either by force or flow. I mean, there's something about disclosure or the unveiling that is very, 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 very personal.
Yeah.
Just like with what happened with you today. That's that from the human perspective. That's your mother and your father. Your mother and your father. That's Mother Universe and Father God.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just taking that into consideration, and all the programs that provided, and the multiplicity from there.
Yeah.
That's why our hair always looks like spaghetti. But yeah, I mean,
what you said about the reality too, The thing is, what's happening is whenever we're exposed to things that remind us that the world is doing something, what happens is that reality, that collective reality, illuminates brighter. And your immediate reality actually has a certain frequency, a certain brightness. So that one overrides your own personal reality. And sometimes it blends into it and you see the two realities together. But like what you just said earlier, just a moment ago, is that what's happening is you're focusing, your attention is shifting, your energy is shifting, and that reality of the escape that you're saying that's in the horizon or whatever, it's becoming dimmer. And you're seeing more of your current reality, and you're putting your attention in your current reality, and you're actually not only seeing it, but you're also shaping that reality and changing the context of it and the brightness of it and whatever else. So your immediate
I've always had this thing with people talking about collapsing timelines, choosing timelines, whatever. That's the first, I don't know if you meant to do that, but that's the first time I've actually seen it when somebody was explaining it. And I can see that, right? Like that was the timeline. And it's not really, it's even hard to say that because there's parts of this timeline that are in that timeline, right? But I can see what you're saying, where now this is the dominant timeline and it's very atypical for the most part, for most of our life's journeys, even in the last few years, because the reality of this new timeline, this one, and you're right, that we're developing literally on the go, is coming so fast, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it feels like it's coming very fast.
See, the thing is, what people call the new world, we're unpacking it. We're the one that's bringing to reality. We're the one that is actually shaping it, each one of us. And it's mainly the ones that are putting the most focus on is the people that are, have done a lot of their own connection with themselves and clearing out some of the stuff that reflected the old world. And so it's coming through us. That's why all these energies are coming in. The purging is coming in, because the fact that it's like this. We're building, we're shaping it, we're the engineers, we're every part of it. We're all bringing our spectrums into that so-called new world reality that we are creating, that we are all going to enjoy collectively. So the people that are still focusing on the old world, and there's lots of those, they're still seeing that other one. They're not really seeing this one yet. But many of us are getting glimpses of that other one that have already started purging. And like you said, the horizon, it's like that one's getting dimmer. The other one's getting brighter. Your immediate reality is getting brighter so that you're merging with this new world part of it. And we're just unpacking it all, right? And this is why I was saying, we go away from manifestation, we go into creation. And creation is where you create the new world. Manifestation is a replication of an old world, the old design, the old construct, right? Because if you look at it, when people talk about manifesting, they're manifesting what other people have or what's been, of course they may have glamorized it or whatever it is, but the call is, it's not about manifesting. It's going into the region of your creative ability, your imagination, your unlimited state, and creating a world that actually is a strong reflection of what you came here packaged already from inside to bring forth.
Yes.
Big difference.
Yes. And like what you just described, again, a kind of a visual, it's not really a separation. It's fluid. So if they're both, there's an intersection. Some of those components are in the other. And so anyway, but the way you described it, I felt like, and I told you this last time, so I got a little better beat on it now, that to me, there was a shift in consciousness. Like in my consciousness, and when you talk about the active consciousness, what it consists of, and I saw you say that, and I watched it 2 or 3 times because I knew I was getting something. It took a while to get it, and I finally kind of can put it into words. To me, it was like there was a shift in my active consciousness, and you described it that other way too, with the time, the timeline. You're seeing this, the other one's fading, but I felt like a distinct collective shift during this time of the last few weeks, where we're operating from a different. It's a different active consciousness now. I mean, it's almost like your story from this morning. You had this active consciousness. You had this player that was in there that you didn't even mention on your presentation, and he pops in. You remove, you're doing what you're doing through your loving process, and then when that is no longer there, you have an entire new domain.
Correct.
Like, you know what I mean? This isn't even a new operating system. This is a new domain name.
Yes.
Domain name. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a whole new website.
Exactly. And the thing is, the active consciousness has always been there, but what's happening is the ratio of input it receives that actually shapes the active consciousness. So it's taking in more of, say, your multidimensional input, more of a purified of your human advanced, human entity advanced, or what we call the human soul. And because we have the multidimensional soul, the human soul, which is also referred to as human entity. And
how I get. Wait. You know how I get. You know how I get on this. I asked you 5 times, what is the human aspect? And this is, now you're bringing this up. That's the first time I've heard you say the human soul, or at least that I can remember. So, because I have this thing, and I can't quite figure it out, but I think it has something to do with what you were explaining earlier. Not only are we stepping into this new reality that is closer to us, but we're actually creating in the moment. Like it's a whole different kind of thing. Like you said, creation versus manifestation.
Yeah.
So I forgot why I was saying that.
Something about bringing up.
Oh, no. So okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So, but I felt like that this human, if I had to use the nomenclature to this point until you said human soul, the human aspect had the potential to be some type of perpetual consciousness, call it conversion to soul or something about the human, even though it's a game and we're a player, there's something about the energy of it, the code that it offers as a unique experience, having its own energy signature, just like any of us.
Yep.
And so I feel that. So when you said the human soul, I'm like, okay, now I got to go figure out what part of me is the human soul and what part of me is the old soul, right? I don't know. But
yeah, so the difference is the human soul is quite enriched in its human experience, and the human soul is the part that actually records and expands the human experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put it another way, another
Yeah.
metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
Is the human soul taking a seat at, let's just say, the oversoul table, Todd's oversoul table? Is the human soul taking a seat of equality? Or let's just say, is that part of the potential? Is it from an energetic, and I know that's a literal explanation, but you know what I mean?
You mean being active and part
Does
of
it? Does it? Yeah. In other words, does it represent the creative potential of this whole game? In other words, is it a representation of expansion? Can the human game, which was developed with a human aspect, which then, as it's been made in the image of whoever made it, in a universe where the universe doesn't know where it came from,
right?
Does it have the potential to then go from aspect to, you might even say like organic AI or something like that, where it starts to become its own consciousness and its own, and it starts doing what we do, which is, like you said earlier, in this human experience, we're creating all these playgrounds, right? I mean, I don't know. It's just my curious mind, my childlike wonder.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll expand. I'll unpack it. All right.
Okay.
And then you can ask if you need more clarity around that.
You know,
Okay.
I'm slow.
No, it's not slow. At times it needs
I
a
can't wait
little,
to get to
it needs a break.
Sedona. I can't wait to get to Sedona.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kidnap you and Kimberly. I'm not gonna let y'all go back for a while.
Yeah, it would be great. It would be great to connect with everybody and actually meet you guys in person. I mean, unfortunately, we won't get to see Morgan, but we're a little slightly disappointed with that part. But anyways,
Well,
that's
you know,
okay.
you meet me, you meet her. She looks better though in person
Well,
than I
you both
do.
have
She looks
your
better than
level
I
of
do.
attractiveness, energetically and physically. So,
All right, now explain the soul, human soul. Just
okay,
do your thing. I want to hear this. This is good.
all right. So I'll build it from the physicality itself is Gaia in expression. Okay, that the physical expression of its Gaia with very specific encodements that were also added to it, so that we can create what we call a human form. So there's the human body carries basically the consciousness, its innate consciousness of the evolutionary process of Gaia with all sentient beings that ever come onto the planet. Okay, in and out. It carries that. Then there was a soul developed, what we call the human entity, but it's called the human soul. That soul would only incarnate on the planet so that it would be able to become extremely enriched from the human experience and also have the capacity to be directly involved in each incarnation so that it can shape the experience
For itself, basically. For the
for
so I just want to say
and in unification,
okay, I
unified
got
with
you.
the body.
Yeah,
Okay,
oneness. Okay, but
so
let me ask you this. So actually the human aspect it's just two different names, same thing. Human aspect, human soul. This is
yeah, human, they
okay.
call it human
Okay.
entity
Okay.
and human soul are
We're
the
good.
same. Yes,
All right,
yes.
keep going.
Okay, so then we have the multidimensional soul. The multidimensional soul may not have had too many experiences on planet Earth, have come maybe never been here. Like some of you talking about star seeds, indigos, and so forth. Some of these never have been here, and they're coming here for the first time. Some of them are coming from whole different realms and whatever else, and never really taken on a human form. So, what does it rely on? You're here, coming here, having a human experience, but it has no knowledge of how to be human. It wouldn't be able to navigate very well. So, what it does, these multidimensional souls will come in bringing in an enriched multidimensional experience. And when I say dimensional consciousness, being previously embodied in different forms, on different planets, in different quadrants of the galaxy, and so forth. It brings all of that enrichment. However, it doesn't normally have that good of a grasp of what it is to be human or to have the human experience. This is where the human soul has been here for 15,000 years, incarnating over and over again. And everything that it learns, it brings to the next so that it can evolve it. You know, when people come in, kids or grown-ups or whatever, they have very powerful skill sets that they've never learned. Okay? All of a sudden, they can paint beautiful art. They can play beautiful music. They can sing. They can engineer things that they've never engineered. And you say, well, okay, is that the multidimensional soul? That multidimensional soul may bring in certain technologies and know-how from other dimensions, yes, but really that enrichment. So let's put it this way. The multidimensional will bring a certain higher octave of energies and consciousness from other enriched realms, but it has to be applied in the human experience of where we are now. But that's where the human soul or the human entity comes in and carries those built up skill sets. So when we're saying that we're a facade, not a facade, a facant, is that how they call it? Savant. Thank you. So thank you. Savant. And you know, that's the human entity, or what we can call the human soul that's expressing, and then the body itself gets attuned to that and is able to, you know, all of a sudden do these masterpieces or whatever else.
Like
And then
collaborate.
there's
Collaborate.
So It's a marriage. It's body, human entity, soul marriage that creates the overall consciousness. Now, the overall consciousness, because this fits into what we were saying earlier, had this human, what do you call it, AI we call the ego plugged in, that was the story maker and so forth. And it, at a period of time, it overshadowed, and in a sense it was allowed to, in a way, to be the dictator of the overall consciousness. Because the ego, what we call the artificial intelligence, was really well skilled in the inverted matrix, or in the inverted world where everything was backwards. Now, what's happening now, and it's been happening for a while, but it's really elevating, the ratios are changing so that less and less input from the ego is allowed in the overall consciousness. More of the multidimensional, more of its pure form of the human entity, and more of the pure form of Gaia, or what we call the body consciousness, or the innate consciousness, is coming to shape and reshape and purge all the other stuff of the overall consciousness. And that's how we experience further enlightenment.
It's like the flowering, the blossoming.
Yeah.
It's like the you know, you said that the human aspect, the human soul, essentially, came through Gaia. So everything on the earth is Gaia, right? That the connection is there.
The bodies,
like you said, all sentience that have stepped forward.
yeah, the bodies are the bodies are all extension of Gaius, right? The human entity, or what we call the human soul, that was one large soul that was put into place, that fragmented, and
okay. So the human soul, I'm going to put it this way: the idea of the human soul, that when that came in, that this is one stop of many for it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was going to,
like, the human entity has one major oversoul, which is connected to everyone on the planet, only the planet. The other oversoul that we have from our multidimensional, that can be scattered everywhere. That can be in different planets, can be in form and non-form and so forth, in different dimensions and so forth. So those oversouls, that oversoul, I mean, is connected to the multidimensionality. The human soul is connected to the collective oversoul of the human soul that is connected to every human entity that's on the planet right now, that is active and shares a tremendous amount. And the body itself is connected to Gaia and every physicality that's expressed. And it doesn't only limit to the physicality of other humans, but the physicality of nature, of the animal, the oceanic and insect and reptiles and birds and all of that stuff.
Right on. And so that that energy complex of the human soul, I'm talking about the oversoul that's plugged into all the people, all the souls on the earth, that must have, as a reflection of any of us, that must have some energetic connection to the other oversoul, or to, just as we have to, you know what I mean? I mean, so it's, anyway, what started me on this was when you said that about, and I could see it come through Mother Earth. Now there's a physical aspect, but if I'm looking at this, like say evolution of Mother Earth, and I'm watching it, the physical aspect, if I look at it, the physical aspect as energy, and as it cycles through the different, ages and epochs and all that, I look at like what's happening now, and it would seem to be, based on your explanation and other people and just the way it feels, that the physical is front and center now. Like the physical is literally becoming energy, or going through a transformation to where it can create at a different level energetically because of some prerequisite that we had to hit or something. I don't know. Is that ascension? Is that what we might see in terms? Is that what we might see in terms of the literal experience and interpretation of heaven on earth, where we'll actually become like Marvel comics, like superheroes, like superpowers, and
Well,
things like that.
yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if you want to call it superheroes, but in a sense, what we're looking at, the the human body, for example, and its innateness and the connections with it, is evolving and expanding, and it's going through a transformation. So Gaia has gone through a transformation. Our bodies are going through transformation. It's changing its form, how much energy it stores, how it represents itself, and so forth. And it's reflective of that, because we have other inputs here. I mean, that's are involved with this experience, and we're not even going to go into the chakras, because that's another level altogether. But so yes, the physicality is evolving and expanding as Gaia is. So it's actually going to another level, and it's accessing more of its consciousness, and it's more online now, because before, the way it was kind of structured, because of the what the Matrix was doing and all the other stuff that was going on, we created a disconnect from Gaia. In a sense, we can't disconnect, but we were not receiving a level of communication. There was not a sharing. There was like so many layers of filters that we felt isolated from it, in a way, even though we possibly can't. So the beauty of it is the grandness of Gaia is being offered through our bodies. We have the most evolved state, and it's an ongoing process of the human entity, and the most evolved state of the human, what we call the multidimensional soul, coming in, and there's a beautiful exchange going on, and that's all part of the evolution, the growth, and so forth. Plus, more of the DNA coming back online, because you have to understand each DNA is connected to a certain species. Each species has been evolving and have been sharing codes, energies, realizations, and consciousness, and so forth. So, and that's intimately connected to whatever the body's going through. It's also filtered right into, or streamed right into the what do you call it, the Gaia, and then reflected back and forth. And then, of course, it also works with the human entity and or the human soul with the multidimensional soul.
It's like a heartbeat, isn't it? It's like a pulsation.
Yeah.
Like
So much movement, so much connection, so much
like in the equal energy exchange. It's like you're describing like the little gears and the infinitesimal gears within the gears within the gears. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't want to create too much overload in people's minds and so forth.
No. I mean, I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
But when you look at the whole thing, right? Let me put one last thing in perspective here before we carry on. When you look at the whole thing, all of it resides in one space. Yes. And it's all residing in the field of source. And it's all part and parcel of what we call spirit. The spirit is source in action. Spirit is source in creation. And there's nothing outside of it. So it's all that. But because when you're looking at this field, it's like looking at this drawing, and there every little clusters of pixels make part of that picture, and each planet and each one of us are a part of that make up the big whole, and the whole is really the full field.
Yeah, and if you look at one of those pixels, what you're seeing up there, you're seeing in there. It goes just as, and that's what fascinates me. That's why I look at the whole, and it could be another planetary experience, but I'm just saying, I'm conscious in this one. I have this thing that comes from the multi-soul. So I know it's the human soul. I know it's that oversoul group that you were describing, and so on and so on. And it's this reverence for being a human being, being here right now. I don't know how much time I have, and I don't know if we're going to defy death or not. It's like it's all going away. All this fuzziness, and it's just going away. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It feels to me, and I keep saying this, but it feels to me when I stop and just go, okay, what is this? It feels like a dream. It feels like my consciousness when I'm in a lucid dream. You're just like I don't know how to explain it. It's like plasma. You're
Yeah.
just like, you're so connected at this, what would seem like a dense in the terms of like heavy, but it's that level of connectivity, but it's very light, and you're just super sharp, right? That's what it feels like.
Well, if you wanted to look at right the core of it, we are in a lucid dream.
Mm.
Being on the planet, being in a physicality, being in any
Snap.
part of it is
That's it.
exactly that.
You know,
It
when
is a
somebody
lucid
says
dream.
something that you should have said or could have said, or it's like you said it. And that's another thing I want to bring up too. When that lady said to you, there's two of you. Now I noticed this like going back 10 years when I first woke up. That used to happen. Not only did it happen to me, but it happened to people I knew. It happened on messaging, on instant messenger when I first got on to Facebook. It happened when I was talking to people. It happened on shows. And then other people started talking about it. Like my friend gets on the subway and the lady's sitting there and she turns to him and says, "You need to go take care of this." Like he hadn't even, you know what I mean? I mean, so there is something to be said for our encounters with our aspects, which essentially is with our higher self communicating with us. There's something to be said for the fact that it's happening between us, like you said so beautifully earlier, heart to heart, and it's not happening. All reverence to him, to those aspects that have been invisible, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. It's kind
Yeah,
of cool.
I mean, the people say, well, when I leave here, I go to heaven, I go this or do that. There's a lot of belief systems and so forth, and that's great. That's all fun stuff to play with. But the thing is, when you step out of your lucid dream, you can step into another lucid dream. But if you totally wake up from all levels of lucid dream, then you notice there's nothing in everything.
I know.
You're basically, you see yourself as you are. Oh, I'm source.
I
No,
don't want to go. I don't want to go back there. I want to play more.
but, the thing is, I can share one thing with you. I talk about oneness, and a lot of people talk about oneness because it's become a big thing. I've been talking about oneness for 20 years, but a lot of people couldn't understand that, and still today there's still a little bit of a confusion.
And I just want to say, to give a little bit more props to your parents. You could have been living with virtually any of 8 billion people on the earth, and you still would have been in the same situation because you were on the outside looking in. Your experience was like in the minutia of human experience.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
I'm sorry, I just had to take
I
a
must say at some point I was going, yeah, if I had some cool parents, like Kimberly has some cool parents, okay?
You probably would have still shocked them.
Well, I met the mom, yes. I never met the dad because he passed away before I came around. But at the same time, she's got a pretty cool family. I mean, they're at wherever levels they're at. But whenever I've met them and gone through, well, I haven't met the dad, but heard about the dad and everything else, and how she was exposed to already an expanding higher consciousness. About her dad was talking when they were young kids, about these other dimensions. We're talking about, the aliens and how we came about and stuff like that.
So what you're saying is she was a tutelage under a master.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
by her own design. Yeah.
Her dad was very open to a lot of this stuff. I mean, he had a little bit of a challenge integrating it in the human experience, but he knew what was going on or had a deeper understanding of it. But so I used to say at that time, it was like, oh, it would have been so cool, to have parents like that, because yes, of course, we would have still shocked each other too at the same time. But
yeah, no kidding.
But you would have pushed the envelope further rather than having something opposite. And when I met Kimberly's mom some 10 years ago, the first time, I called her mom, and I still call her mom because it was like the mom I never had. Now, of course, my parents have left a long time ago, but I just said, "Oh, okay, you can be the mom I never had," right? Because she was more open and in her way of looking at things, and she was kind of chilled about a lot of stuff, right? Too bad I didn't get to meet the dad. But the thing is, I know that for me to get a deeper understanding and to self-empower, it worked out so perfectly because all of us stage every part of our lives, where, how we come through and all of that stuff, and who your playmates are, because the stage is the stage. It helps you to be able to refine and be more propped or prepared. Let's call it that, prepared to be able to do what you have chosen to come here to do, rather than, not being equipped. So yeah, at one time I remember, it was like, instead of coming through poverty, it would have been nice to have a wealthy family and to have a weakened family, because, you would have had backup support and you didn't have to do it the hard way and everything else. But doing it the hard way, what we call the hard way,
man, what a gift. What a gift.
Like, imagine me having a conversation and somebody saying to me, well, oh yeah, you came from privilege, and they had the good connections. Your parents were good. No, I had the opposite, right? Yeah. So if I can do it, and okay, I'm not putting myself as an example. No, I'm just saying because sometimes they say, well, yeah, you probably, your life was pretty cool. And they go, well, no, the life was very colorful.
You're lucky. Right? You're lucky you didn't, they didn't put you in a psych ward and keep you there. I mean, you and those like you had a lot to contend with. I saw this movie. I was trying to watch. I was thinking about watching a movie last night. I can't for some reason now anymore. But there was this one, and it said, it was a movie, and I thought it was really interesting. It said it was a story about a girl who was clearly tuned into her reality, yet living in the world where nobody could see that reality.
Yes.
Right. And trying to fuse them. And as I was reading it, I thought, well, that's our story. And the fusion occurs, you're the reality. You created. It's like what you said about the story this morning. It's like you discover that consciousness is there, that face, that whatever you called it, and then you fuse it. Yeah. You're probably going to have a huge shift, I would imagine. I mean, how could you humanly not having what sounds like almost like a spike from a slow ascending tsunami like everybody else, and then you have this huge thing right in time for Soulogy Fest. I mean, you're probably going to be singing, rapping, and dancing.
Well, yes.
You never know what's going to happen. You wake up to higher truth tomorrow. What was embarrassing the day before is no longer embarrassing. I mean, what's happening to us?
Well, the thing is, embarrassment is a program story and so forth. To just be free, have fun, dance, do whatever, It's when the ego turns around and says, oh, that's foolish, that's this and that, or you're judging somebody else. That's just
we have the ego in rehab now.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Do you think it's, and I know these things sound cliche, but do you think that I know it sounds silly. Do you think that we're all just becoming little kids? Because it feels like I'm becoming a little kid. Like everything's okay. There's no reason for anyone to be upset. You know, a little kid, and you'd walk in a room and the adults are arguing. You're like, why isn't everybody just happy and loving each other all the time? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, is the merging is happening. We come here to play and we have a lot of fun as a child and so forth, and then we're conditioned not to play. But what we're doing is a reversal process. We're going back to the playful side. It's not only just the playful side. As a kid, you knew that everything was perfect. It was like, yeah, this is cool, this is that, whatever it is. You didn't really see anything wrong with anything that was going on. You really didn't even see that there was a difference between kids. I mean, one of the things I noticed is that it didn't matter if a kid was a different color, a different race, or different whatever. It could have been male, female. Didn't pay attention to it. It's like, oh, it's a playmate. Let's go play. What can we do, right?
And those are the ones you could see. There was the ones you couldn't see.
Yes. I have a little story about that one.
That's another reason we were so happy back then, because there was no limitation. Nobody told us that's not really there. What do you mean it's not there?
Well, it's not only there. we used our imagination, our creativity, and that's coming back on the forefront, because at that point in time, we didn't say, "Oh yeah, get real, get your head out of the clouds." This is reality. It's like at that point, you had no concept of reality. Reality was whatever I made, whatever I felt like, whatever I wanted to experience, right?
Hmm.
And curiosity was the other thing too that we had. So yes, are we coming back to kids? Yes, because we're going into that playfulness, that imagination, that creativity, that adventure, that non-restricted way of playing with each other. And you're not going to look at the race or genders or anything of that nature. You're just going to see that, hey, there's another aspect of me. Let's go play. Let's have fun. Let's see what we can do, what we can't do, whatever it is. Let's push the envelope. Let's have some fun. And that's the thing. So,
I if people were listening to us, people that might not have ever heard anything like this or any of these programs like this, Soulogy, other platforms, or I'm just going to keep it at this, right? Just a conversation, taking everything into account, that same space of imagination that we had as children, the whole 9 yards. But I got to say, if somebody walked in the door because they went to the wrong, conversation, what the hell would they think? These people believe in dragons. They believe in that. And it's not about that. That's the initial typical social reaction is to quickly label it and associate it with something. But to actually go into this environment where it's becoming more and more and more expansive energetically, because it all boils down to that. Is that happening everywhere in the spectrum? Like, I mean, it just blows my mind how much it feels like everything is going our direction. Everything is just right. And we're getting more and more aware of that.
mm-hmm.
And it's now, parlaying into, like you said, it's going from manifesting to creation. And creation is the big boom. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can create, potentially we could create anything. And if it's not in this physicality, which I believe it is achievable. If it's not in this physicality, it is in these other playgrounds that we're creating, mostly unconscious to ourselves, right?
Yeah. See, the thing is, we got conditioned as a kid. When you grow up, you have to fit a mold. Okay? A pattern, some sort. And it all varies wherever you are and who your playmates are and so forth. But our true nature is you come in as a child, your physicality might grow, but you maintain that child as components of it. Yes, you learn how to maneuver more of it, but you don't lose that playfulness, that creativity, the imagination, the excitement, the non holding ourselves back again or anything of that nature, or feeling that you have to fit something. You grow up being yourself 100%, and of course the self is always expanding, and this is the thing. So the thing is you're not molding yourself. Now we're going through the process of breaking the mold, because as you break the molds, then you can create something completely brand new, and that's the part that's coming up forward. And when you said before about defying death, there's no defiance of death.
Yeah.
There is no death, but
Right.
you can choose to maintain a physicality for thousands of years if you choose. It's not an issue. If we were just conditioned to believe that we had.
Well, that's been my thing. Is I'm thinking, I'm gonna hang out for a few hundred years, 800, be like Methuselah or whatever his name is, and then I think, dude, just shut up. Because you're going to wake up tomorrow and you might decide you want to go surf on Venus, or, in other words, you have no idea. There's a lot of that too, I think, on this trip.
Well,
it's just let it go, because what you have in mind in your wildest dreams is not even close.
Yeah. Well, you have to look at it this way. There's like I was saying, the three parts. The body itself really wants to be here and really wants to experience everything that's going on in physical representation as much as possible. It's not wanting to go surf on Venus, that's for sure. Neither does the human entity. You're multidimensional, yes, but your multidimensional could say, "Okay, I'm done with this." It could leave. Another multidimensional soul could step in. the human entity could have upgrades too if it wants to. It's all there. So, but the thing
So
is,
let me
it's
ask
free.
you this.
You can move freely. Go
You're
ahead.
losing. Okay, I've got another. Todd needs to have something explained to him.
Okay.
So if let's just say in this moment, I'll have to describe it from my own terms and try to blend them with yours. So I have this oversoul.
Right.
I know this space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a 12 from there, and then I would say it comes here. There's stuff in between, like say galactic or something. I don't know, but here at this level, there's the human, there's the soul, who's kind of like on an umbilical cord from the oversoul somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the soul and there's the human soul and all its components. But so
And then there's the body.
And then yes, and the body.
The body.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry. So in the understanding that I never lose anything, you come together once, you come together forever. So I just answered my own question, because I was going to say, well, what if my oversoul decides to go somewhere else? Well, it's already been there. It's never going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, would I lose something? Would I lose access? No. Right. I mean, if another soul stepped in, as my soul went to go somewhere else, play somewhere else. Right.
Well, look at it this way. There are people that have had soul exchanges. Okay. Because their original soul left because it did what it wanted to do, and another soul steps in. And I've worked with many people, and I'm sure other people have worked with others, and many of you have even experienced it yourselves, where your soul swaps. Now, like even Kimberly, I mean, you'll get to meet her and so forth. Kimberly's already had 4 different souls. Okay, 4, not 1, 4. Right?
Is that detectable to the human soul?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Is it? But it would be very.
The overall consciousness recognizes it.
What's that?
And other people would sense it too.
Okay, but like
when she went through two different souls. Okay. I was involved with her 10 years, because the first soul was from birth to 21. The second soul was from 21 to 44.
Now, are these when this happens to somebody, is this 2 different oversoul groups coming in?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or yes. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So anything is possible. There is a perfect design to everything, yet in some wild way, all options open, always.
Correct.
Right. So this is getting back to what you said we're stepping into, as we step from manifestation to creation. The difference here is that we can't. This is instant manifestation. That's as far as we could take it by the definition of manifestation. But so we're actually in this creation, which is a culmination of our energetic trajectory. But at the same time, we can make changes and modify in the moment, right?
Correct. Right? So let me throw this in. It's not another mind bender, but let's throw it in anyway. So talking about the changes that you're talking about, I don't usually open up and say these things all the time, because I need the right playmate. When I say right playmate, the playmate that brings it out, and you tend to do that, even though I try to. I don't purposely try to short circuit you, but sometimes I feel I do. But that only opens you up a little further. That's all.
This is how Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis started, man.
Yeah, and it gives me opportunity to play too. So I love that. So like you said, the changes and so forth. The body itself has the option to bring in any level of consciousness, but also representation from any other bodies that exist, and any bodies that haven't been existing. And I say physical body expressions. And it can take in any time. So the body can actually change its energy, its conscious, its focal point to a certain degree. Maybe the body doesn't change as much, but you will notice a subtle change in the physical representation because of it. Okay. The human entity, what we call the human soul, also, is also free. It could leave, another one can come in, but it can also tap into and bring into the human experience different expressions
Right.
within it, right?
Right. That's the savant
For
part.
example, it wants to learn. Yeah, it wants to express itself with a different gift.
So, okay.
You look. Have you seen people that one day all of a sudden they have all this new skill set come up? What did they do? They pulled in from the collective human entity or the collective human soul and said, hey, I'm ready to bring this skill set as an offering through this combination at this time.
Yeah.
The humans, the multidimensional soul, is multidimensional. It means it can incarnate anywhere on any planet, could stay in non-form, can unite with the oversoul and all of that stuff there. And it's on multiple dimensions. So it can come in, and each one that comes in has a different offering energetically and its consciousness. So what I'm talking about, like even to bring back the example of Kimberly, the physicality was the same, but the physicality went through some adjustments. So it did bring in some brand new energies and consciousness to be able to host the new souls that were coming in.
I must have just had one change because my stomach is getting really flat.
Cool. That's your physical expression. Say, hey, we don't need to have this anymore. So
I'm kidding.
We don't need that cushioning anymore. That's
but so yeah, and then to bring it full circle, the reason that I know that I have memory of every single place that I've been and therefore access to anything else that's ever existed, a lot like if you use the comparison of the connection of soul here on the earth, where by virtue of that you have access to every single one. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to say is there's a part of me that knows I am, like, I'm present everywhere.
Well,
you know what I mean? Yeah. At this moment, I'm conscious as Todd Medina, and I want to, let's have a party and ball with my friends, kind of thing. It's getting to this point where I don't know. To me, it almost feels like I don't know how often this comes around. Like this is kind of getting kind of special to me. Some of the things, so the energy itself to see. Okay, so you look at Soulogy Fest, for instance.
Yep.
We're in the middle of a pandemic for whatever number of months. My friend calls me. I talked to Morgan. I said to him first, I said, what about the quarantine? He said, what quarantine? And I said, oh, okay. So then you have like your story and other people's story. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I see these people almost like chess pieces moving, even like with Morgan and Grace and Ryan and all these different people moving around. And I guess, I don't know. And so, it probably doesn't do it justice, but embodying, walking the talk. Mm-hmm. And it's happening under this, let's say this, like a globe, like a dome of this reality that we thought was it. And these little bubbles of creation are not only impervious to this thing that we used to be power over us, but they're also starting to bump into each other and create more effervescence and more bubbles. And right. and it just looks to me like I don't know. I mean, I know you've talked about the things that have been shown to you, and I know that over the 2 years you've said several times we kind of moved things up a little bit. It feels that way to me. It feels like we're really accelerating here.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, we've made a collective agreement that we're not slowing down. We're just going to keep moving forward. And the thing is, too, Todd, what we're going to see.
Yeah, I was a chief lobbyist on that.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. And I think you were the one that kept sneaking in and voting more than once to make sure.
Just push it on. Just push it all the way down to the floorboard.
Yeah. Well, I remember you going, I don't care if I fall flat on my back and I can't move, but just ramp this thing up. That's go for it. I don't care. I'm going to get back up.
Why does that resonate? Why does that resonate to the point? I know I did.
Because you did.
This is this is multidimensionality in the moment. It really is. It really is. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I had glimpse of you doing the dance, of it's like, all right, let's bring it on. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, that's how to slow that thing down. If I have to drag people by their ponytail
I told Morgan when this thing came up, we both knew she had to go to Australia. It was all in the symmetry of how this is all unfolding. And I was like, man, we got some balls here. I mean, on one hand, that from that oversoul and from that whole neighborhood of soul, monad, whatever you want to call it, we're totally supported, all of us.
Yeah.
And we're good. You know what I mean? And so it's like, this is so new, this childlike thing that's stepping in, and it's coming in so pronounced. You're literally, that fearless isn't even a word.
Yeah.
You just are an in tune, energetic, with a good intention. That's just like I said, everything just seems to be going our way.
Yeah, absolutely. And
my God.
created, how can I say? We created the opportunity for everybody to get whatever they need, whatever they're going through, and also to create a lot of completions. And this, all of this, how can I call it? All of this, the child, the playful stuff. It was originally our purest form of nature. When we retooled the planet 15,000 years ago for a window of 5,000 years, we didn't even experience or plug in polarity or anything about nature or even have any fear, because we had a knowing that there was no way you can stop existing, because you are the existence,
That's right.
And then, so you just kept pushing and pushing and doing more and more and more and more. Then the process we went afterwards was that we were doing less and less and less. But now we're breaking that. We're going the other way again, bringing more and more back online to the experience. So at that point, we can experience the expanded self, but we were still learning how to play in the expanded self. Then we went through a 10,000 year of contraction where you saw yourself smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And now we're becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Really, we're just expanding ourselves. But the thing is, we're not going back to the same. We're actually creating everything brand new. So it's not like, oh, we're going to go back to the original, say, timeline of sorts of 15,000 years ago for that 5,000 year window. We're not going there. We're not even concerned with whatever was here before, the Lemurian.
That's right. That's right.
The Atlantean. Right. We're not even going there. We brought some tidbits in there. It's not that. We're just creating everything brand new.
Yeah. So this is good, and this is loud to include our over-identification with certain aspects of ourselves and therefore identities that brought us to awakening, but we now have to let go because it's no longer serving the same role. But this has been a great show. I've enjoyed it. It's been multidimensional and it's been powerful. But to me, I mean, I am chasing something that I'll never get. This is just my own psych up, my own psyching myself. And what I'm pursuing, and this is just a personal testimony, is this open candor. I mean, just exactly what you did at the beginning of the show, talking about the experience with what you discovered about your parents and yourself, and the power to me of somebody who's been that glued in, somebody who could literally have been in a psych ward because he was that different, to be and to be that confident and to make it to this point, to be able to be that humble and not even think twice and say, hey, this just happened to me. I just discovered this huge player that I didn't even know existed. and this is the real stuff. This is what I hope we can see at at Soulogy Fest, and that's what we're attempting to do. So I'm really I'm your number one fan. So
Well, when it comes to the Soulogy Fest, I invite anyone that feels drawn to it, or fact of you can get there. Join us. I mean, the magic is going to be created there. Not only are we in an environment that hosts a very high vibration and so forth, but it's really us coming together that's going to really activate and create an environment for all of us to really blossom in a powerful way. And if you can't come in person, you can join us online and still be part of it. But if all possible, you can join us in person. Especially if you're in the States, there's less and less restrictions for mobility. But we're coming from Canada. We're still sorting out how to get there, but we're going to get there one way or another. But
we'll get you. This is going down.
Yeah, so
this is going
we're
down.
Go down, and it feels strong to be there at this point to be part of it. And I get a glimpse of the magic that we're going to create, and the magic is only a little glimpse of it, because once we come together, we're bringing the child out, we're bringing the playfulness out, we're bringing the imagination out, and we're going to crank up the energies. We're going to and imagine this, coming together and embracing and being one with each other. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I look forward to it.
Man, it's gonna be epic. It really is. Here, I'm just pulling up. I want to put this thing up real quick. Yes. Okay. Hey, you guys, let's support Franco and Kimberly and what they've been doing. You guys know about Advancing Consciousness series. It's the experiential Akashic record, as far as I'm concerned, over the last couple of years. It's told in a general way, but also in a specific way. Great tool resource. But anyway, I put the PayPal on all the platforms. Yeah. Hey, man, this is what we do, man. This is what we do.
We highly appreciate it, but we also want to make sure that you're more looked after.
We're all right. We're good. Anna Toothman just bought a ticket to Soulogy Fest this morning, so we're good. Cool. No, we're good. Everything's
anybody that's interested, please, go for it. Make the commitment to yourself, buy the ticket, and then say, okay, I don't know how exactly I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there. And just go for it. That's it.
That's right. You never know what you're going to see. There's going to be, I think I counted it up. There's 39 hours, which includes the chocolate tree for 4 or 5 hours on Memorial Day. That's free to the public.
Yeah.
We have the online tickets. You can see the 3 days, and then everyone's going to see the Memorial Day. Both locally, it's free and online. But it's good. There's 39 total hours, and I think 20 hours are open stage, which means we'll see what happens. Could be somebody's testimony from their huge expansion from the morning. You know what I mean? It could be a lot of things. So, yeah, it's going to be really special, and it's been a long time coming. But it doesn't just represent Soulogy; it represents the convergence of a lot of intention and love. And I think we're people that will be online, live, replay, and just not even in that part of it, in the unconscious part of it, where we're all connecting in this transformation. So, right on.
Yeah. So there's a question: are you sold out? No, I don't think we are. I think we've hit a little.
Well, the online tickets are unlimited. The live tickets, I haven't looked, but I think we have, I want to say 30.
Okay. So there's
30 tickets. Yeah. 30, 35 maybe.
Okay.
I know we got up to, say about 35. There's still plenty.
Yeah.
Andale. It's like, as my grandmother used to say, andale. That means hurry up. Hurry up. I'm just playing. All right, brother. I'll see you.
All right. Take care.
Hey.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Well, we'll see you tomorrow, actually, tomorrow night.
Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. We've got
Yeah,
some big things happening here.
we're connecting with Michael too.
Okay, so yeah, so that's going to be really cool. And I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. We have tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff tomorrow. We have Susan Amara. Then we have Michael and Franco, Michael Mejia and Franco DeNicola. Okay, and then we're going to have. We're just basically hosting this silent gathering of unification that Morgan and Yvonnya and a few other put together. And that's going to be on Zoom. It's going to be private. It's at 7:00. And then that group can decide if they want to post it after that. But everyone's invited. Just because it's on Zoom, it won't be on the multi-stream. Doesn't mean you can't come, men and women, as I understand it. So, yeah. So we'll see you tomorrow with Michael. That's an interesting. That's what it's all about. Adding frequencies to a never expanding vibration.
Absolutely. It's going to be a blast for sure.
Right on, brother. I'll see you.